Thank you for the opportunity to be on here to share with all of you today. So as you mentioned, I'm not new to the idea of a patch. Been very familiar with those for a very long time. But when I was introduced to LifeWave a couple years ago, the idea of a non-transdermal patch that actually triggered different biochemical responses inside of the body was very intriguing to me. We're going to get into X39 here in just a little bit, but I do want to share with you that I am not a stranger to stem cells either, right? Different types of stem cell modalities and technologies, and I'll share some of that as we go along. So I'm looking forward today, first of all, to share with you some information about the energy enhancer. The first and the best, I definitely can do that. And I say, of course, X39 is the star of the show. But we never want to forget our roots, where we came from. My roots were a school teacher. I used to teach middle school, 7th and 8th grade reading and language arts over 30 years ago. So my roots are always in education and teaching and helping others, no matter what, to be able to learn and grow and expand their knowledge base. Now, also, please don't feel like you have to be an expert in any of this, right? LifeWave has a science section on their website where you can find all the clinical studies, all the research and data, and many things, of course, that I'm going to reference today, as well as the information that you hear from David on a regular basis. So let's talk about Energy Enhancer first and how David got started. I'm sure many of you have heard this story. He was an inventor his entire life. He always has been. Ever since he was a little boy, I got to interview him a couple weeks ago myself personally, and he shared a story of how he used to find things in the basement and take things apart and try to put them back together in different ways to invent new creations. And so when he grew up, getting his degree in biology, learning about biochemical processes inside of the body, and his, of course, intense passion to help people improve their quality of life in many different ways, he was working at the time that he invented the first technology in LifeWave, the energy enhancer. He was working with the Navy. And he was contracted by the U.S. Department of Defense. And so why this is important to Energy Enhancer is because, again, of that foundation where he got started, he was working with the submissions on survival equipment and specifically oxygenation. And they had asked him, because of some things that he invented, which were so magnificent beyond anything they'd ever seen, to contribute to the problem the Navy was having with the sustainability, endurance, stamina, energy in the field. When SEALs go out on mission, they are up on days and weeks on end. They are typically on caffeine, amphetamines, and uppers and things like that, stimulants that are harmful to the body and not something that's going to benefit their progress, right? So David was inspired, as he says, downloaded the idea by the divine, by God, the creator, to create a non-transdermal patch that he called Energy Enhancer. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today, this Energy Enhancer patch first. So that first patch that he invented, that he was using with the Navy, was helping them improve their quality of life, their sustainability, endurance and stamina, and energy in the field without the need of stimulants and uppers. And of course, you know what happened in 2011 with the World Trade Center here in the United States. At that time, after things were going well, the U.S. Department of Defense had to pull out to bear more arms and protect our country here in the U.S. And so David thought, this is a great idea. I feel like this would really benefit not only this area of people, but also all people. And so that's when he started his research in his clinical studies with people on the Energy Enhancer patch. Now, the Energy Enhancer patch is actually a 2-patch system. So when I talk to you about this, I'm talking to you about a white patch that goes on the right side of the body and a tan patch that goes on the left side of the body. And the reason why this works with our polarity of our body, and you will see in the instruction booklets that come with the Energy Enhancer, there are multiple different places you can apply it. And of course, we've heard David talk about other places he uses it as well too, but you can see white right, tan left. So this is very important that you understand there are 2 different colors in your pack. So make sure that you're pulling out both of the patches and using both of them simultaneously at the same time, white on the right side of the body, tan on the left. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how this works, how Energy Enhancer works. Well, the theoretical basis for the mechanism of action is through frequency modulation and resonant energy transfer. So basically, a protein combination contained within the patch. So inside of this non-transdermal patch that's actually interacting with a naturally occurring magnetic field of the human body that triggers beta oxidation. So basically, beta oxidation is a metabolic process involving multiple steps by which fatty acid molecules are broken down to produce energy. So that's beta oxidation in the body, turning body fat into fuel, which is why the Navy had such great results, is using the body to do what it needs to do, turn that body fat into fuel instead of those stimulants and uppers and things like that. So when David did his first studies, he first looked at HRV, heart rate variability, which are muscle contractions in the heart. We have low frequency and we have high frequency. And so some of the first studies showed that after 5 minutes, just 5 minutes of using energy enhancer during exercise, we could see enhanced relaxation levels as the patches reduced the ratio between that low and high frequency muscle contractions, which shows improving support of the health and the heart, right? And so when we look at specifically in our pack here, we look at the pericardium, which is that second point, right? We know that our clinical studies have been done using traditional acupuncture points, right? Traditional Chinese medicine. And so this spot on the wrist, on both wrists, you would put the white on the right and tan on the left. That directly impacts your heart, right? Your cardiovascular system, that pericardium point. But we could also see other things. We could see just in 5 minutes that you could detect beneficial physiological effects in bioelectrical measurements. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit what that means and how that impacts your body, your energy level, your stamina, your endurance. So first of all, we're going to look at photobiomodulation. Now, I don't know if you've ever looked into Dr. Michael Hamblin at Harvard. David speaks highly of him. He has countless studies in photobiomodulation. So what is photobiomodulation? Well, photo meaning light, and biomodulation meaning modulating inside of the body, right? You're very common, of course, with the sun, right? We go out into the sun's rays, specific rays, waves of light hit our skin, and that increases melanin, which you can see in my skin, obviously, but it also does something inside, which it increases the vitamin D level in our body. And so we know that photobiomodulation is very common. Well, with the patch, these patches and any of LifeWave patches, because there's nothing entering the body but a wavelength of light, we can see not only in Dr. Hamblin's studies, but in ours, that the increase in muscle performance and reduction in muscle damage from light therapy is real and really happening. So with our patches, we stimulate the skin with a very low level of infrared light, our own body's light, which is shown to increase mitochondria, which mitochondria is organelles within inside of the cells. And it's responsible for producing ATP, which is an energy carrier. So how many of you need more energy? Everybody's going to raise their hand, right? Well, we do have a direct link to how light will improve biochemistry of the cell, which leads to improvements in energy and leads to improvements in athletic performance. But not just that, energy throughout the day for anyone, everyone. And we know that we are beings of light. We emit light. Cells emit light, and we can see this through night vision goggles. So if you were to go outside at night, you wouldn't be able to see a person across the street or maybe an animal in the woods. I know my son and his buddies went out around 11 o'clock on the golf cart the other night and took the binocular, okay, one like binoculars, but it was just one. And they were going out looking around to see what they could find in the woods. We live out in the country. And he came back and he said, cows, just cows. They couldn't find anything else, but they could see the cows because they could see the light being emitted off of those cows, that heat or light that we emit. So there is a direct connection between overall health and light coming from the cells or the body. We know that. So that's really important. There is a direct connection between overall health and light coming from the cells and the body. That changes as we age. Unfortunately, everything changes as we age. Thank God for LifeWave, right? Thank God for David and all of the patches that we have. So when we look at the energy enhancer, we know that this can reverse part of the aging process by using light. Well, something else we also saw in these studies, not we, David, but when I review them, of course, and look over them, we saw a cooling effect in the body after just 5 minutes. Again, 5 minutes, we show a balance, a biochemical flow of energy in the body. So can we improve energy daily? Yes, of course we can. We saw in the study statistical difference in the maximum aerobic ATP in the cells. So that shows statistical difference. So it shows, yes, absolutely 100%, we can see an improvement in the function of the cells, of the body, of the flow of the energy, the light output. We know that cells shrink as we age, right? They become dehydrated. By the time you're in your 60s, you're going to hear me talk about this here in a minute with X39, but by the time you're in your 60s, you have about half of, or 30s, about half your stem cells active and less than 10% in your 60s, and all your cells have shrunk. They're all dehydrated, right? There's not a lot of coherence. Cells leak light. It's just part of the aging process. And so energy enhancer affects the light in the cells. And like I said, in statistical significance, results were obtained, which generate measurable changes in both the biophoton emission intensities and in body energetic condition. The size of the cells actually increased by 15%. Sign me up for that, right? An increase in the size of my cells, knowing that my cells shrink as I age, but I'm actually increasing them with energy enhancer, and also an improved ability to take in nutrients and eliminate toxins in just 20 to 30 minutes of using the energy enhancer patches. Now, we know toxins are stored in fat cells, and by mobilizing fat out of the cells, we're able to get some of those toxins out. Remember at the beginning, I told you that energy enhancer triggers beta oxidation, turns body fat into fuel. So it's mobilizing some of that fat out of the cells, right? Which we see about a 300 to 600, calorie burn with energy enhancer. Now, of course, we're not saying that it's a weight loss product by any means. We're not making that claim, but we do see that mobilization of the fat, right, out of the cells and getting some of those toxins out. So did the energy enhancer produce bioelectrical effects? Yes, in 5 minutes. And we know that it improves muscle contractions to support overall heart health. There's nothing entering the body with this technology. Remember, this is a wearable light therapy, photobiomodulation or phototherapy. And so we know that it's safe and there's nothing coming in. So there's nothing to interact with, nothing harmful or toxic, right? And we know that we are measuring very powerful anti-aging effects by stimulating the body with energy enhancer to improve the way our body uses light and produces it for improved health, vitality, and of course, anti-aging. Sign me up for that, right? So with increased human performance, our patches elevate fat burning, which produces significant increase in strength, stamina, endurance, and flexibility every single day. Energy drinks don't do this, right? There are no benefits. They're harmful. They can stress the body, right? A lot of them are extremely toxic. And so when you have something that is safe, that is natural, that is effective, proven, right? I think there are maybe 8 to 10 clinical studies on energy enhancer alone, maybe more. I know one study had, I think, 15 studies inside of it, when I pulled them up the other day. And David has done over 90 clinical studies, and not just himself, but if you look at these studies, you're going to see doctors and scientists around the globe that are doing these studies on the patches. So it's not something that's happening just in-house in David's lab, and this is what it's going to say because this is what we want it to say, right? We are actually, David, the company LifeWave, over the last 20 years, are proving the effectiveness of this technology, using it on real people every single day to show statistical benefits. And I'm all for that, right? Something that's healthy and safe. So energy enhancer was David's first patch, but he didn't stop there. Over the last almost 20 years, gosh, we're going to be celebrating 20 years next year. Over the last 20 years, he has actually invented a dozen patches. and 2 aromatherapy mists over that time frame that have been released in LifeWave. And of course, we know with David, there's a whole lot more coming down in the pipeline. But I want to talk to you about our X39. Like I said at the beginning, this is the star product. X39 took David 10 years in the lab, 10 years to figure out how to do what I'm getting ready to share with you that this patch does. And it's nothing short of a miracle. I'll be honest with you. I can't believe what this patch does. Remember how I shared with you at the beginning that I'm not a stranger to different types of stem cell therapies and technologies and modalities? I'm the one that banked my kids' cord blood 22 years ago, before that was even a thing. And so I found out the power of stem cells all those years ago. And I actually ended up spending about 10 years doing different types of stem cell therapy in and out of the country with my daughter. Different types of things to try to help her recover from a brain injury she had had when she was little. And so when I found this patch just a little over 2 years ago, it wasn't a question of, well, what's the efficacy of this? Or let me see the studies, or, what does this do? I just needed to know how fast I could, like, how much was it? Could I have it right now? Could I walk home with it and put it on my child immediately? That was my main question, because I knew what stem cells could do. And knowing that this was immediately a non-transdermal patch that triggered the body to activate and elevate and mobilize its own stem cells, sign me up for that. I wanted that instantly, not only for my child, but I also wanted it for my entire family. I knew that this was something that could help all of us. For me personally, I've never had any health issues, conditions, or anything like that. I really have always been into wellness. So I was looking for wellness, longevity, vitality, and prevention. And so when this patch came into my life, I knew this was going to be my ticket for that longevity and prevention goal, but also be able to help improve so many people's quality of life. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how that patch works. So very much like the energy enhancer, it is a non-transdermal patch, but it works very differently in the body. This is a single patch, one patch. And you can see that this patch, if you look at the back of it, this is sticky, right? And you see that little white disc in the center. Okay, that is what David has invented. So I'm going to put this patch on right here so you guys can see it. It doesn't really matter. You can put it on the back of your neck or below your belly button. Any place works. But what David has invented is a proprietary blend of organic amino acids, salts, oxygen, water, sugar in a water base, and that forms a crystal lattice structure. So those components are called chiral stereoisomers, to get technical with you. Chiral means reflective. That's going to be very important when you understand how this patch works. Reflective, like a mirror. And stereoisomers are molecules that form together a very specific way to do something very specific. Remember, we were talking about photobiomodulation, and so we're going to use the light to modulate protein synthesis inside of the body to be able to do what I'm getting ready to share with you. So that lattice structure is embedded in this patch, in that white part. It's embedded in between two polymer shell, sealed completely. So nothing is entering into the body. It's 3M hypoallergenics. You don't have to worry about, there's no latex or anything like that. If you have any issues, skin issues, that kind of thing. So this patch, when you apply it, you actually apply it in the morning. This is the patch that you would put on when you get up in the morning. I always tell people, you brush your teeth in the morning, put your patch on in the morning. You leave your patch on 12 hours. You brush your teeth at night, you take your patch off at night. That's an easy way to remember. 12 hours on, give your body that 12-hour break while you're sleeping, and you get up and you put it on again the next day. And so what happens when you put this patch on is it's immediately elevating a peptide. And that peptide is called GHKCU copper peptide. It's a tripeptide. So GHKCU copper peptide. And like I told you, it took David 10 years in the lab to figure out how to elevate this peptide. And he started his studies looking at Dr. Lauren Picard. And if you research him, go to PubMed, look at the benefits of GHKCU. It's a peptide that we have in our body. Peptides are, chains of proteins, amino acids, the building blocks of your body, right? And so when you age, GHKCU declines. unfortunately, lots of things decline, right? And so this patch elevates GHKCU, copper peptide, without an injection, without having to take a pill, right? Without having to worry about any of that. Remember, this is a wearable light technology using our body's own light. Remember, we emit light. And so when you put the patch on, your body's light reflects back a very specific wavelength of light. You know, there are different wavelengths of light, right? And so when you elevate your body's own GHKCU copper peptide, that one of the benefits is resetting a third of the genes immediately back to their young, youthful, healthy state. Sign me up for that. Resetting a third of my genes back to my young, youthful, healthy state. We know that genes express to other genes. So you can see, I'm going to talk to you about this compound effect here in a little bit. You can see over time as one gene expresses to one or two other genes, and so on and so forth, and a compound effect in repair and regeneration. So I put the patch on, elevates my GHKCU copper peptide, resets a third of my genes immediately. Well, one of those genes is called P63. And P63 is responsible for mobilizing stem cells. Now, it's your stem cells. We are not putting stem cells in the body. Remember, nothing's actually entering the body except for a wavelength of light. And so it's mobilizing, activating, and elevating your own stem cell production. Well, remember me talking about what your cells shrink and things happen as you age? Well, when you're born with an abundance of stem cells. Like everything is a stem cell. Sperm and egg come together, boom, stem cells, right? And so then those cells turn into heart cells and kidney cells and liver cells and, you know, the tissues and organs and things that we need in the body. But there are cells that stay just stem cells, pluripotent stem cells, which means they can turn into any cell, tissue, or organ that's needed to repair and regenerate the body throughout life. Think about when you're a kid. You have boundless amounts of energy, right? Kids go, 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 go nonstop. They drop like this and can fall asleep in a crowded room, right? Go to a wedding reception, you'll see kids dancing all over the floor, and then they're just passed out, like never missing a beat because they're just exhausted. Think about when you were a kid. I know I fell out of many trees and fell off my bike many times, broke some bones here or there, and my body repaired just like this, right? Never missed a beat, got up and took off the next day. You know, grandma falls out of bed, she's not getting back up, more than likely, because her body's ability to repair is not what it was when she was a child. So by the time you're in your 30s, you have about half of your stem cells that are active. Like the rest are there, but they're dormant. They're tired, they're wore out. And let's be honest, we weren't really created to live much past in our 30s, you know, thousands of years ago. That was very common to be gone by the time in your 30s. And thanks to modern medicine, some really good modern medicines, we have extended our lifespan. Well, what happens by the time you're in your 60s, you have less than 10% of your stem cells active in your body. Less than 10%. That means 90% are dormant. So think about what happens in your 30s. Like you start to get those aches and pains, and you know, maybe you don't get as great a quality of sleep. Or have you ever walked into a room and then went, what am I in here for? And you turn around and walk out trying to jog your memory. That starts happening in your 30s, right? Or maybe you have some digestion issues. Your metabolism starts to slow down. Or maybe you do have a fall and you're going skiing and you maybe tear an ACL, and it's like, this should be repaired in a few weeks, and it's months go by and it's not repairing. That's from the lack of stem cells in your body that are active to help repair and regenerate. Well, if you're in your 60s or beyond, you know, beyond your 60s, you don't have any active stem cells, you know that repair and regeneration process is dramatically reduced. And so this patch elevates your own stem cell production, mobilizes, activates your own stem cells. Says, let's go. Do what you did when you were a kid. You used to take care of me. Let's do that again. And so what happens is then your body knows how to heal itself, right? The patches don't heal. They don't cure anything. We're not diagnosing or preventing, you know, treating any diseases here. The body knows what to do. Think about when you cut your finger or if you broke your wrist. It's not the Band-Aid or the cast that does the repairing. It's the body on the inside. It's your body's stem cells, right? And so those stem cells go to work wherever your body needs them most. People ask me all the time, well, what am I going to notice? What am I going to feel? And that's going to be very different from person to person. I know that can be a little frustrating. We're very used to medications where the doctor says, this is the medication, this is what it's going to do. It's going to change this number right away, or you're going to feel this right away because we're putting a drug into the body. And this is a general wellness product. And so we don't work that way. We're not making any of those claims, of course. And so it's going to be very different per person, which is really kind of awesome, actually. So it's almost customized to you because it's you. It's your body. There's only one you. And your body knows how to heal itself, right? The body has its own innate ability to know how to do that. So when you apply this patch, your body's stem cells go to work to repair and regenerate whatever is needed in whatever order. Now, we can share with you what some of the clinical studies have shown. And again, if you go to lifewave.com, you'll be able to see the studies in the science tab, and you can look through all the double-blind placebo studies that have been done over X39. I think David's done 9 of them so far. And you can see the different benefits that people have experienced. What we commonly see right away within, I would say, the first 3 to 6 weeks, sometimes sooner, is pain reduction. We see better quality of sleep, a more deeper REM sleep. We see more mental energy, more mental clarity, more mental concentration and focus. We see faster wound healing, of course. I have a plastic surgeon on my team that I interviewed a couple of weeks ago that was sharing a 40% reduction in the recovery time of his patients from using X39 1 month post-op and 2 months 1 month pre-op and 2 months post-op. So we see huge improvements in the reduction of the recovery time when someone has a wound or a break, injury, things like that. We also see improved physical activity, physical performance, and things like that. So those are some of the common things we notice right away within maybe the first 3 to 6 weeks. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer with people to be able to feel things. But here's the thing I want you to remember. I said day one, day one, elevating your GHK-Cu copper peptide, resetting a third of your genes. Like that, 4,200 genes reset back to their young, youthful, healthy state. That is amazing. Now, did you feel that? Maybe you felt something. Maybe you felt energy. Maybe you felt, like, whoa, I feel good. I feel like I'm alert or I'm awake, or, maybe you're like me and you didn't feel anything. I didn't feel anything for 3 weeks. Nothing at all. And it doesn't matter if you're healthy or not healthy, old or young, it doesn't matter. We're all different. And so for me, it's about 3 weeks. And I noticed some improvements in my exercise. I was in the gym and people kept telling me that I worked out with all the time. And they're saying, you're running laps around us. Why are you lapping us? This makes no sense. And I've always, been into working out and exercising, of course. But that was like, wow, I'm running on the treadmill and I'm running 7 miles an hour. And I've looked down, I've ran 4 miles. I didn't even feel a thing. Like, that's different. That is definitely different. And something else I noticed around that 3-week time was my brain. So I'm a reader, researcher. I love to study. I love to read. I love to learn. I'm always reading something to not only improve my quality of life, to be able to help and share with other people, but I noticed my processing time sped up so dramatically. And so I really have to be conscious of slowing down when I'm speaking because my brain is just going so fast. And I know that's from the X39, which I thought it was fast to begin with, but it's a whole different level fast. And so what happens over that time period, that compound effect that I mentioned, we kind of recommend a general rule of thumb is 1 month for every 10 years you are old. So if you're in your 30s, you would want to use the X39 for 90 days, right? Give it 3 months. That's your starting point before you make a determination whether or not you've felt anything or noticed anything. And the reason why we say that is because, like I said, half of your stem cells in your 30s are dormant. And so it takes that time to get them back up to their full stem cell regeneration, about that 1 month for every decade. If you're in your 60s, again, that's going to look like a 6 month at your starting point, 77 months, 80s, 8 months. But I want to be honest with you. Okay, this is not a miracle cure-all, fix-all, put the patch on and everything in your life just goes poof and disappears and you're just back to your happy, perfect, everything state. Let's be realistic, okay? I have been into holistic health and wellness for 20 years, honestly, longer than that. You know, I grew up with parents that had gardens and hunted and used essential oils and herbs. We didn't do the chemicals, we didn't do the drugs, we didn't do the fake food that you find, especially today, right? We didn't go to the doctor, we didn't have medicines, we didn't do that kind of stuff. So even longer than that, that has been my background. But food, as you hear David talk about all the time, let food be thy medicine, right? So your nutrition is your foundation. Can you use this patch if you're not eating healthy? Absolutely. And you know what we find with people, the longer they use the patch, the more they start making healthier choices, healthier lifestyle choices. And so if you don't exercise right now, and if you don't eat healthy, today's a great day to start making little changes, but know that what you're feeding your body really is important. And especially today, with what they've done to our food, we really need to stay with holistic, whole foods, healthy, organic, fresh, grow it yourself or get it from the farmer's market or, somewhere that you co-op or something like that. You can get something healthy for your body. We know that exercise, movement is vitally important to your longevity and your health. Even if it's going for a walk or a swim, doing some body weight exercises on your TV, on the YouTube channel, or even on your phone. I have YouTube on my phone, of course, and I do exercises all the time off of just looking off my phone. So whatever you're doing, make sure that's part of your healthy lifestyle practices. Of course, really good sleep is really important. And we know that about 70% of the people in this world do not have a good quality of sleep. Now, of course, X39 does help with that. We do have our Silent Nights patch as well that you can take a look at. And of course, David's Shine and the Dream is fantastic for sleep. But the X39 will also help over time, right? So sleep is important. Good, healthy, clean water. Water is vitally important. I hear sometimes that people say, well, I'm not really getting that many results, or I've been using the patches for 5 or 6 months and I don't know that I'm really noticing anything. And I'll say, well, how much do you weigh? And, they'll say, well, 180 pounds. And I'm like, okay, well, how much water do you drink a day? And I always get, oh, I drink, 3 or 4 of these a day. And I'm like, 3 or 4. So let's just say you had 4 of those. And I'm, okay, so you're weighing around, 70, 80 pounds. Is that about right? They're saying no. Well, then you're dehydrated. Remember me telling you earlier when I talked about energy enhancer that as we age, our cells become dehydrated. They shrink and they get smaller. Water is vitally important to your success, to your health, to your longevity, and also to the effectiveness of the patches. We know that our bodies are light. I talked about that. We emit light. Our cells emit light, and your body needs the water for the conductivity. So you need to make sure that you're staying hydrated. I recommend half your body weight in ounces. Now, if you're nowhere near that, then let's get started somewhere. If you don't like the flavor of water, get yourself a pitcher and soak it in mint overnight, or drop in some fresh strawberries or pineapple, or maybe lemons or limes or grapefruits. I don't know, whatever you enjoy, but drop that in your water at night. And so then you can sip on that all day the next day. Maybe it's a half gallon of water. Maybe it's a full gallon based on your weight. I don't know. But a lot of people say, well, I don't want to go to the bathroom. I don't want to have to do that. Well, then that's probably why you're not feeling so great, because your body is so dehydrated. So start first thing in your morning with a good, clean cup of healthy water. Add some lemon in it, right? Use that to be able to jumpstart your body, get your liver flushed out first thing there in the morning. So those are some things that are really good practices. We know that our patch assists with those. Again, you don't have to have all that in check for the patches to work. Those are things we notice that do happen with people over time as they use the patch, because they start to see and feel some differences in their body. And they're like, I think I do want to have more water. I feel like I'm thirsty. A lot of people say they're thirsty with the patches because your body's craving that water. So what do we see over time in compound effect? Day after day, week after week, month after month, even year after year. This patch was actually pre-launched 5 years ago. 5 years this has been on the market. What a blessing it's been to so many people's lives. And so we see the longer that people use the patch, the more that they're repairing and regenerating, restoring, and actually reversing the functionality of their cells and tissues and organs. One of David's studies, I love this. This is one of my favorite studies, is on the cardiovascular system, the entire vascular system, actually. And again, you can find the studies on lifewave.com in the science tab. But this study showed that every 6 weeks using X39, your vascular system improved as if it were functioning 8 weeks younger. 8 weeks younger. Now, what does that mean? If I continue to patch every single day, day after day, week after week, month after month, or year after year, as I've been doing, right, as part of my general wellness routine, then what do I see in the functionality of my heart? How is my heart functioning? If I know every 6 weeks it's functioning as if it were 8 weeks younger, right? My entire vascular system, all my vessels. That's super important for your health and your longevity. And that's just one of our clinical studies, right? Like I said, David has done a lot of them in showing the effectiveness of long-term use in vitality and in longevity, in performance and stamina, and being able to improve your quality of life. I always talk about a grocery list. People come to me every day with a grocery list of problems. Sometimes they look like they, just went to pick up a couple things, and other times it looks like I did last weekend, and I spent about an hour in the grocery store. When I checked out, it's one of those you had to fold over and over. Sometimes people show me grocery lists like that of all of the symptoms and issues and things that they're dealing with. And know that you didn't get that way overnight. It took time for the body to break down, for it to degenerate. And so it's going to take time for it to repair and regenerate. I always say time goes by no matter what. You're either going to get older or you're going to get younger. So for me, you're going to stop patching whenever you want to start aging again. And for me, that's never. Because for the price of a cup of coffee a day, I know that I don't know everything that's going on inside of my body. Nobody does, right? You can do all the tests, all the diagnostic tests, but you're never really going to know every single thing with every cell, every organ, and every tissue. But the body does. And the stem cells, those pluripotent stem cells, know what to do. They know where to go first. They know what order to be able to repair your body in. So your job is to give it time. Your job is to stay consistent and to make those daily effort and changes into healthier lifestyle practices, because we want you here for a long time. David says we have the ability to live to 150, 200, 250 plus years with this technology. And that is totally up to you. If you want to join us, we would love for you to join us in that quest. But know that it's a journey, right? This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. And that's what life is. We're here for the long haul to help people improve their quality of life and to be able to have the best life with your friends and family. So Garrett, I would love to have you come back on here. I know we've got about maybe 15, 20 minutes left, but I would love to be able to answer any questions that people had. I know that comments have been coming in, and see how I can better assist or help you guys understand the technology.
Let's see here. So the question is, if X39 and Energy Enhancer work so well together, why do we bundle X39 with X49?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so again, working differently in the body, X49 signals a daughter peptide to the X39. So X49 signals AHKCU, which is alanine instead of the glycine. So that peptide working together with the X39, the GHKCU, daughter peptides, right? That's a daughter peptide, works very differently to increase lean muscle mass, help with recovery with muscle, right? We see neurological benefits from the X49. So we also see huge improvements. If you look at the studies that came out last year at conference, 1 year with Dr. Melinda Connor, Dr. Caitlin Connor, using the X39 and X49 combo for stopping bone loss and increasing bone density. There's a whole lot more to X49, reduction of body fat, and the bone is huge what it does. but it works totally different. So they are not the same. You can't say, well, energy enhancer is going to take the place of it, because it's not signaling a peptide like that. It triggers beta oxidation in the body, the ATP, and that energy center in the cells,
Niesamowite połączenie.
Vitally important, but not at all like the X39. So 39-49 combo are amazing. And that's what my son uses every single day. He has been using them since they came out a little over a year and a half ago, has massively increased his gains in his body and his strength and stamina endurance. But he also uses energy enhancer. When he was on the court in basketball, it gives you a totally different feel, right? Because endurance and energy, stamina, increasing that energy in the cells, the X39 works completely different.
One of the questions here as well, it comes back to this, and this goes back to some of our brand partners who will go out and maybe share samples to people who they're trying to interest. Let's say they give them a sample of 3 patches, and maybe after they use those 3 patches, maybe they didn't feel result. What's a good way to explain that to one of these?
That's a great question, because I love to sample patches, but I always tell people, this is for, I'm gonna give you this patch. You can put this on the back of your neck, below your belly button, leave it on 12 hours. You're probably not going to feel anything. Now, if you do, let me know, but I doubt you will. I set them up that way from the very beginning, because this is stem cell activation, and your stem cells repair and regenerate over time. This is something you're going to want to use at least 1 month for every 10 years you are old. So I'm sitting here talking to Sally. Sally's in her 50s. Sally, she knows immediately, like, I'll give you a couple of these to take home. But please don't think that you're going to feel something, because that's not the way this works. And again, if you happen to be in our One Patch Wonder Club, some people are in that, let me know. I know I sure wasn't, and neither was my husband, but my friend Laura was. 20 minutes later, she felt something, but it's not normal that you would. So be patient with it. It's kind of like taking a supplement and expecting to feel something from taking that, vitamin C right there. You don't feel. It's like going to the gym and expecting to see results on day 1. I want to feel something. I want to see that scale drop, or I want to see those muscles bulge. We have to be realistic with it.
All right. So let's say, how many patches can someone wear in a day?
So this is a great question. When I met David just a little over 2 years ago, when I first got involved with LifeWave, literally 4 days after I joined, he was here in Sarasota, Florida, doing the first event he had done since the COVID lockdown. And he was at a hotel doing a meeting, and someone asked him, David, how many patches do you have on? And he said, well, right now I have on 13. And at the time, the company only had 11. So we're like, wait a minute, what's going on? He said, well, experimental. I'm trying on myself, and I have multiple patches of other things. And he did mention he uses 2 sets of energy enhancer. He loves the bottoms of his feet, and he likes like stomach 36. That's that point below the knees or up here on the lung points, to have 1 set in each part of the body. You definitely can do that. Just keep in mind that your body will determine what order it repairs in. So if you have specific things on your grocery list, they may not get addressed in the order you want. Like you said, you like IceWave on the bottoms of your feet to help with pain and things like that. So we can't say that X39 is going to get rid of your pain like this, but boy, we can say IceWave can. That's what it's designed to do. So we use those supportive patches to support the different systems and organs, so we can help achieve our goals that we're looking for in our health a little bit faster than if maybe we waited with the X39. It may take longer, and it's okay. All we have is time. But sometimes in our culture, our microwave society, we want things now.
The next question is, how would somebody who is, let's say they're going to go talk to their doctor, or let's say they're using X39, they're wanting to see what kind of impact it's having on their body. What type of test could they go in and take a look at to see what kind of an impact it's having?
That's a great question. People ask me that all the time. How do you know your test? So depending on what type of doctor you're seeing, your traditional medical doctor is going to pull your labs like CBCs, CMPs, things like that. If you go to more of a holistic doctor, naturopath, maybe a functional medicine doctor, different doctors pull different types of blood work depending on their specialty and what they're looking for. Some do hair analysis, of course, as we see from David's study, looking at bioresonance devices. I know a lot of biofeedback, neurofeedback, things like that. So it depends on what they're looking at. I don't have a set panel that you would go and pull. I know when I had my blood work done by a naturopathic doctor almost 2 years ago now, after I guess about 6 months of using the patches. Now it was a 7-page report, and we looked at all the systems in the body. She did an EKG. We looked at all my blood work, looking at my hormones and my kidney function, my liver function, the heart function. And so just tell your doctor you want a full panel. Like, you want to look at the functionality of all of your organs and see how everything is functioning, right? You're looking at your blood sugar, right? That A1C, and looking at your heart and the different types of things with inside of that. So not a set one, Garrett, but it's nice to have those things to be able to monitor over time and say, well, and a lot of people do have their blood work. They have tests, they have x-rays, or they have CT scans, and they can say, here's where I was before I started patching. And now here I am 3 months later, 6 months later, 12 months later, or even longer, right? And so we hear that all the time, that people go back to their doctor and have scans or labs done, and they've seen huge improvements with no explanation for the doctor, right?
Yep, exactly. And we do hear that a lot. All right, so the next question, and we'll call this our last one because we're really coming right at the top of the hour. And this one I think you could answer fairly quickly, and that is this: if they put the X39 in the same place in the back of their neck every single day, should they be mixing that up a little bit, or is it okay to keep it in the same location as long as you take that 12 hours off?
That's up to you personally. For myself, like for my daughter, I put the patch on the back of her neck every single day for an entire year. And I put Eon right below that without moving them daily, because I knew that this back area back here, that CV7, there are a lot of nerves that come into that area. Sometimes for people, it's a little too much. They can feel maybe a little like, woo, this is a lot of energy coming in. But I knew that for me, that's where I wanted it for her. Now for myself, I'll move it around. I'll put the patch sometimes below my belly button. Sometimes I'll stick it on the top of my foot if I want to. Sometimes I'll put it on the back of my neck. It's up to you. You can do whatever you want with it personally. My son likes to put his on the side of his hip. I don't know why. X39 goes on one side of the hip, X49 goes on the other hip. That's just the way he's always done it. Now my husband, every day for over 2 years, the back of his neck, never missed a beat. So it's a personal choice. Remember, no matter where you're putting the patch, it's elevating your GHK-Cu copper peptide, activating and mobilizing your stem cells systemically. Systemic means throughout the entire body. Your whole body is light. Every place is light. Everywhere is emitting light. So no matter where you put the patch, it's working. It's signaling that peptide right away. So know that it doesn't matter if you stick it on the back of your hand, the top of your foot, or your low back. Anywhere works, honestly. And a lot of times we're programmed to think, well, if my shoulder hurts, I'm going to put it here. If my back hurts, maybe I should put it there. Sure, do that. Go for it. I don't know that it'll get rid of the pain. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I'll tell you, Ice Wave will, but definitely do any spot. Any spot works, but you're not going to have any adverse effects if you left it on in one spot over and over again, just as long as, again, 12 hours on, 12 hours off.
Perfect. Well, Dr. Stacy, that was a lot of information, a lot of amazing information. And I don't know if you've had a chance to read through any of the chat, but they are loving you right now and everything you've been able to share with them. So we do appreciate your time today and everything that you put into your LifeWave team and your business and your willingness to be able to share this across all teams within the company. And so thanks again. And we certainly look forward to hearing from you again, hopefully sometime in the future.
Thank you, Garrett. I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity. I love you all. So grateful for the opportunity to be here.